All right, good morning. Welcome in, guys. How is everybody doing? Happy Wednesday. Some news impacting the market. You guys probably are aware of it. We're going to talk about that. Welcome in, guys. Hope everybody is doing well. I'm just playing with my OBS this morning, making sure my stream is doing okay. I think it's good. I can't see the chat right now, though. That's the only problem. Let me see. How can I find the chat? Where is the chat? I want to see what you guys are saying. What are you guys saying? Hold on. Okay, there we go. I'm in. All right. So, Chuck, thank you, Chuck. I'll go over AMD. Yep, absolutely. I'll take a look at AMD. We'll talk about AMD today. Welcome in, guys. Thank you for supporting, Chuck. NVIDIA puts, NVIDIA semis are melting, right? They are in a little bit of a meltdown following the news that came out yesterday around 4 p.m., right? So some big news. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the earnings reports, the economic stuff. We're going to go over the trading view, right? We'll go over everything on the chart side. I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened yesterday, right? SPY was quite nice. That was probably the only thing that really was nice yesterday. I got a little bit of a scalper on SPY, and I held my shorts on SPY pretty much all day yesterday. And I, like, to be honest with you, it made money, but wasn't really the past 2 days, right? Monday and Tuesday have really not been phenomenal, right? This is a phenomenal trade. I know on Monday, I think I caught Nvidia. I got like 18%, and it was just like kind of squeezing something that wasn't there. Yesterday's session, I took Nvidia again on Tuesday. Got a good move on Nvidia. Contracts weren't moving. Again, I feel like I was squeezing something that wasn't there. And then I caught a little bit of SPY. Had to sit in it for a while, and again, felt like I was squeezing something. And this is how it's been the past 2 days, right? The week prior was actually quite nice. Lots of volatility. Ranges are really good. But the past 2 days, you've seen some contraction in volatility. And the contraction in volatility has made it a little bit more difficult to get those continuation moves, a follow through, right? Because even if you have the right level, right bias, right game plan, and you get in the trade, hey, if it doesn't continue, doesn't go in your favor, you're not going to be making a whole bunch of money, right? And being able to understand, hey, the market's hot last week, the market's a little bit contracted this week so far, that's an important flip. And sometimes it's not something you can forecast. Sometimes it's just something you see, right? You just make mistakes, right? You take trades, you make mistakes, you hopefully don't lose money, right? Granted, yesterday didn't lose money. It was actually quite nice, but there was a significant ability for me to lose money if I was trying to force too much, right? You have to realize what's going on. And sometimes it's not about, this is the thing people are gonna ask, how do you know it's gonna be contracted, right? Well, you don't really know. You don't really know till it's happening, right? So big thing there, okay? So we're gonna talk about the contraction in the market. We'll talk about what we can do today in SPY, which is really important. We'll go over the Q's chart. We'll talk about the QQQ, supply above, the 466 supply above, which again, we're just rejecting off of the supply, right? And now we're moving towards demand here at 443. So we're going to talk about that 443, 444 demand on the QQQ. We'll go over the ES chart, of course. We're going to talk about the 54 on ES, the 54 on ES being an important pivot that we spoke about yesterday. We're also going to go over NVIDIA. NVIDIA, I traded NVIDIA longs yesterday, right? So I traded NVIDIA longs yesterday off of this level right here, right? This is where I got in long. I went long here at Tuesday? Right here, this is the chart, right? 111.5. Yeah, well, right here went long, and got a move from here to there and there, and that was it, right? And then this just got me out of the trade, and that was my day yesterday in Nvidia. Very slow moving stock, right? Sort of contracted, right? Nothing was happening, and it was almost like Nvidia was waiting for what? It was waiting for news, right? And you can tell that based upon how the option contracts were moving, not just on Tuesday, but actually on Monday's session, right? And I believe if you guys recall, we did speak about the idea that we expected NVIDIA news to come out. If you guys recall from yesterday's stream, joke's on me yesterday. Joke is on me for trying to trade NVIDIA, right? I sat in this trade for an hour to make I think I made $60 or something. Jokes on me for that one. I should have I really did know that something was going to happen on NVIDIA, but even when you know something, you still, if you FAFO, you FAFO. So that was me yesterday. Ultimately, trade worked out nicely, but just couldn't really get much continuation, right? We'll go over the AMD chart. We'll talk about that. We'll go over Tesla. We'll go over Amazon. We'll talk about the Amazon 175 level, 176 level, and the 180 level above. We'll go over Microsoft. Microsoft also approaching a big level again. We have a lot to go over this morning, guys, and I want to dive into it as quickly as possible. So, reading the chat right now, is NVIDIA still good long term? Yes, it is. It is still good long term. Nothing's changed, but it's just in the short term going on discount, right? Going on sale. Okay. So let's go over our economic first, and then we'll jump back into our earnings and our charts. So we have 900 people in the stream, and we have 184 likes. That's actually not bad, but let's try to get that up as quickly as possible. A little shameless asking for likes, but I'll do that once in a while. Okay. So Wednesday, April 16th, today's session, we have retail sales, industrial production at 9:15, and then business inventories at 10 o'clock. So today's session, we do have data at 10 o'clock. The data today is going to be important. There is something that's missing here on the calendar. If you guys can confirm, I'm like 95% certain about this. We do have Jerome Powell speaking at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The time I'm uncertain, but the fact that he's speaking, I'm pretty certain about. So be aware of that coming into today's session. I think he is speaking. Can you guys confirm in the chat? Someone will know better than me. Is he speaking today? He's confirmed. Okay, so it's confirmed. So he is speaking today, okay? And I believe it is also at 1:30 p.m. Yes, people are saying 1:30 p.m. Yeah, it's Eastern Standard Time. So today's session is going to be important for the economic side, right? We're going to see some stuff happening at 10 o'clock. We'll see some stuff happening at 1:30. Just be careful in navigating the markets at those times. Tomorrow's session, we have housing starts and permits, jobless claims, etc. Now, it's important to note that tomorrow is Thursday, but in the eyes of a trader, tomorrow's Friday. Okay, and the reason why I'm saying that is because obviously markets close on Friday for Good Friday, so be aware of that coming into our session today. That the market's going to be closed on Friday's session, which means that Thursday, of course, is basically going to be your 0 DTE day where there's no options expiring on Friday, right? So even if today's session on Wednesday, if you normally size $10,000 position sizes, well, you should be sizing probably like 6K today, right? Why? Because those contracts that normally expire Friday are expiring tomorrow. So it's like almost like a Thursday today's session. So just keep that in mind, okay? So on the earnings side, we have TSM and Netflix. That's it. That's all we have, right? TSM, Netflix, those are the big ones. You did see some movement on UAL yesterday. UAL actually moving pretty strong. That's going to impact the airline companies, Delta, UAL, all the airlines, right? I can't even JetBlue, right? All of them are moving pretty strong this morning in the pre-market session following a strong UAL report. ASML this morning. I'm not really interested in ASML, but we can take a look at it if you guys want. And then we have TSM tomorrow, pre-market, and Netflix in the after hours. And those are the two big ones. And these will represent the start of our earnings season, which is going to be big for the market. Okay, so let's dive into our charts. The first chart of the day, of course, is going to be SPY. And on the SPY chart, let me get water. On the SPY chart, yesterday, we basically did nothing, right? It was a contracted day. The past 2 days have been contracted days. And even though we have some pretty large ranges, the contraction has been very much so the case compared to the past few days, right? So Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday was a little bit more difficult. But most days, probably 80% or 90% of the days for the past 2 weeks have been mostly trending, okay? Mostly trending with very large ranges. The past 2 days, you've seen a little bit of contraction, okay? So we're definitely sort of bound up a bit more. Ranges are still pretty wide, but it is more bound up than previous. But more importantly, you're not seeing trend, okay? And I think that's an important thing to understand. We are not seeing trend yet. There is a reason we're not seeing trend. The market's forward-looking, and the market doesn't know what it wants to do, okay? We have a lot of news that's looming, and the market simply just doesn't know what to do. The market is basically a sitting duck waiting for news, waiting to hear how negotiations are going with China, how negotiations are going with other countries, and we're basically just sitting ducks. Until we see some big news, I don't think we're going to see a lot of movement, right? Because the market, again, is forward looking and we don't know what even to look forward to because we just don't know, right? So what I would understand about today's session and going into our, especially today at 1:30 with Jerome Powell speaking, is market is looking for a reason to move either up or down, right? And obviously, of course, but even more so the case when we're sitting in range like this. The tighter range we are and the longer we sit in a range, the bigger the move we're going to make when we actually do get that news, right? That's why you saw, like, for example, Nvidia, right? Or we said Nvidia was looking for a big move soon. We said Nvidia probably has news on the horizon. We could guess that based upon what, right? We can forecast that based upon how it's trading, the tight ranges intraday, and how the option contracts are moving. The same thing's happening on SPY, but on a larger scale, right? SPY is tightly round, it's consolidated, and the contracts are very high IV, right? VIX is dropping a little bit, but we are anticipating news. And until that news comes, I don't think we're going to see a colossal move. On the 1 hour time frame, though, just based upon technicals, there is an important flip in the market, okay? Here's the flip in the market. If you are a bull, you are saying this. This is what you're saying. You're saying, okay, I am a bull because we bounced off support here, 480. We formed a low, a higher low, a higher low, a higher low, and now we are forming potentially a higher low here, 530. Okay, so bulls are saying that. Bulls are saying, hey, if we're holding 530, we're bullish, and we're looking for longs back into 550. That's what a bull is saying, right? The bears are saying, hey, yeah, cool. Yeah, we did bounce off support, but we have resistance here and resistance here and resistance there, right? This is part of the reason why I went short yesterday. I caught a little bit of short off of this yesterday high, right? The previous day high. I caught shorts there and got a little bit of a move down back into 538 or so, right? Now, here's the problem, right? The problem is when we're in tight ranges like this, you simply just have to respect the demand below and the supply above, right? This morning, we are sitting at demand at 530. We're sitting at major supply above here at 548. If we push into 548 today, you don't want to be long in the supply, which you can see probably a significant supply rejection. Likewise, if we continue failing back lower, right? Watch the 530 because 530 is still technical support and we can hold here. If we lose the 530, then I think we go back to the 520, okay? Now this 520 is the higher low in the market, okay? This is the higher low in the market. The bottom of this demand zone is the higher low. That low from Friday, April 11 is the most important level we must have in our charts. Because if we lose the Friday low here at 520, then I think this is what happens. I think that we have confirmed the bears are in control still, and we see a move back into 480 and potentially beyond, right? So the break below 520, in my opinion, is going to be pivotal, right? If we do break below 520. But until then, the bulls are saying, hey, we're holding 530, hey, we're holding 520, we're still fine, right? So I want you to understand both understandings here, right? Understanding one is that yes, we're rejecting off big supply, but understanding two is that we're still holding the macro, the smaller uptrend that is maintaining, right? So what do you trust more? Do you trust the 550 supply, or do you trust that the fact that we're still maintaining our little upward structure after holding the big level at 480? So I know it's confusing, and sometimes some sessions are confusing, and today's session is going to be a confusing session. But I think the levels are this. It's 520 support, don't short back into 520. It's 530 demand, 530 demand, and 550 supply. If you're going to short today, you're shorting there, right? Or you're shorting a breakdown under 530 for a move back into 520, but only as far to 520, right? Because again, we don't know if 520 is going to break or it's going to do this and hold, right? That's the thing, because again, we are still technically in a bit of an upward structure as long as we are holding above 520. That's all we have to understand today about the SPY chart. On the ES chart, it is this. It is simply 5300 ES, right? 5300 ES is the equivalent of the 520, right? Is the equivalent of the 520. You could probably drag it back a little bit further and say it's really this whole band here. I know it's a pretty large band, but it is the whole band, right? If we are maintaining an upward structure here, right, we must maintain above these previous highs. 5260. This is the level. I know it's far away. I see it, obviously, right? I know you guys are probably in the chat saying, Brett, what are you talking about, right? You're talking about levels that are so far away. Yes, I know it's 2% away, right? But I am saying this. I'm saying that if we break below 5260, right? Or in this case, the 520 on SPY, that, in my opinion, is a confirmation short, right? It confirms, hey, bears are in control, and we probably see them move back into 480, which again would be 4,800 on the ES chart. This would be the most bearish case scenario. Why would it be though? Why would it be? Because it is simply the market holding demand, major demand 480, higher low. Hey, we still could form a higher low here, right? We still could form a higher low here. So that's what I'm thinking, right? Higher low could maintain here at the 5,300 level, and that would be actually bullish, right? So keep that in mind coming into today's session, right? We're not all bearish. We're not saying market's going to zero right now because we're still holding support. That's it, okay? So with that being said, on the Qs, it's the same deal, right? But on the QQQ, it's 441, right? You can see here, hey, market's selling off, right? We see this sell off in the curling off supply yesterday. I was short yesterday, right? I shorted the market yesterday, but today I'm saying, hey, let's see what the market does at support, right? Because I don't want to short today if the market starts holding support. And the support that I'd be watching out for today on the Qs is this right in front of us. It's 441. It's the high here. It's the series of lows here, right? And again, why is it important? Not just from a level perspective, but from a trend perspective, it's important. Levels are important, but trend is important as well. Trend and structure are important. This is considered an uptrend by definition, right? By the fact that it's forming higher lows. And if we maintain a 443 here, right? 443, 441, this again would be a higher low, and this would be absolutely bullish, right? So we must understand today's session that we are rejecting off supply here. I see it, right? Trust me, I see it as well. 440, 467 supply rejecting. But if we do hold demand here, this could be a really good long, right? So watch the demand blow here at 443, 444. Watch the supply above here, 466 to 468 as big technical supply. If you are a QQQ trader though today in the short term, and you want to look for puts, well, you're looking for this. Either you're looking for puts under here, or you could do this, and this is valid today because I see this on the Qs chart today better than any other chart, is the pop and fade 455, right? If we pop and fade 455, you're projecting off of the lows of Monday session, the opening print on Tuesday. That could be a good short, right? So again, this is your short play. This is your short play. For longs, you want to see this today. You want to see us hold that 443, 441. And that would be your best possible long, in my opinion. But we have to see if it actually holds. Okay, so wow, what the heck? We have 1,600 people here. Where are you guys coming from? We have a lot of people here. This is the most we've ever had on the live stream. So thank you guys all for joining in. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. That is really cool. That is really, really cool. Subscribe if you guys can. I'm going to be shameless. I'm absolutely shameless, but we got to do it. Okay, so NVIDIA. NVIDIA, what did we say yesterday about NVIDIA, right? We said yesterday, watch the 11150 break and retest, and that's what I did, right? I did it, and it, from a technical standpoint, it worked, but from a contract standpoint, from my P&L standpoint, from my Thinkorswim standpoint, it didn't work, right? Because I went long here, right? Went long there. I actually got calls here. I added there, and you'd think I'd be green by here, but I was only up like 7% or 8%, so I'm not going to take profit that. End up just consolidating, right, for a while, and I did take some profit off, and then it failed my level here, so I just got out after it broke structure. So NVIDIA yesterday was a dud and a half, and it wasn't even our fault. From a technical standpoint, it looked fantastic. It was just, here's the problem. The problem is there are big fish that knew about NVIDIA after hours. I can promise you this. There are big fish that knew what NVIDIA was going to say at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know it. People can disagree with me if you want to, but there were big fish that knew that, right? And they're not going to put risk on. They're not going to run their algos, their buy algos, when it's doing this. This is the most perfect break and retest yesterday. Should have built higher, didn't build, right? Not like it was a bad trade, right? But it didn't really continue as much as it should have, right? So that's what happened yesterday in NVIDIA, and you are seeing the ramifications of news coming in this morning, right? And this is what's happening. We are all the way back down to 104. Now, here's the problem. What can we do now in NVIDIA? We must look for this today, right? The scenarios are simple, right? Scenario one is going to be a pop and fade 110, right? So NVIDIA, obviously bad news. It's affecting the rest of the semiconductor market. If we can look for a little pop and fade today, I'm looking for the pop and fade 110. I know it's far away, but I would watch it. Again, it's the Monday lows. It's that Tuesday level, kind of level, little pre-market, almost pre-market, right? 110, 110, I'll make an adjustment here, right? You can see why there needs to be an adjustment. It's really 1095, right? 1095 to 110, right? This is the whole area here. I would watch this whole band for shorts today. If we can pop into this level, that's your optimal area for shorts. If it just continues today, right? If it just continues today, then we must look for this. We must look for the break and hold under, I would say, under the pre-market low, right? So under 104.50, right? If we just lose 104.50, where do we go? We go just right back down to 100, right? So this is what I would expect here on the NVIDIA chart is pop and fade 110, look for downside, or look for a move under 104 for a downside move back into 100, right? Those are the two scenarios I see here on the NVIDIA chart. Yeah, here's the thing. If the NVIDIA does reclaim 110 for whatever reason, that's obviously your best possible long, but that's the only long I'm really interested in, right? This is the real long that would happen. But again, do we expect that to happen after crazy bearish news? Hey, I've seen crazier things, right? So let's watch these three things, right? Scenario 1, pop and fade 110. Scenario 2, under 104. And if the market does get bullish, right, look for longs of 110, which again would be far-fetched, but let's see what happens, okay? On the AMD chart, AMD did what we expected yesterday. We said, hey, don't be long AMD back into supply. That was the thing that happened, right? We just kept getting rejected off of supply yesterday here at 96, 97, 96.50 to 98 actually. But on the 1 hour time frame, you can see pretty much what's going on here is we. Am I still streaming? We're still good. We're still live. Yeah, we're still live, right? Yeah, we're good. What's happening here on the AMD chart is we're looking for this to continue back under 90. If this breaks under 90 today, which it already is pre-market, you see us retest fail here 90, we can look for shorts back down into, someone said I hope so. We can look for shorts back down into 80, right? So big technical level is that 90 today. If we can continue back under 90, look for this to move back into 80. Likewise, you continue to look for pop and fades today, 98. But for me, I think the best trade here at AMD is going to be seeing if we can fail 90. If we fail back under 90, we can look for shorts for a move back into 80. Those are the things I'd watch out for. So again, 80 level, 96.50 level, 98 level, and then obviously if you keep fading lower, this goes right back into 80. So those are the only things I'd watch out for today. Retest projections here 90 or a pop and fade here at 98. Okay. Likewise, let's go over the SMH. On the SMH chart, I don't really see much here. Again, the big demand blow here is a 160. Okay, so let's move on. Let's go over Tesla. Let's talk about Tesla. We'll talk about Tesla in this really intense consolidation, right? Sort of resemblant of the overall market, right? Tesla is resemblant of the overall market. Why? Because it's just sitting in a little wedge, right? Not much of a pattern trader, but this again would be a pattern, right? It's just a little symmetrical wedge. What I would watch for here on this chart today is I would watch for one of two things. I would watch for us to break under 245 today. If we break under 245, we see 240, which would be a scalpable short. Or the best possible short is going to be a break and hold under 240 for a downside move back into 230 and beyond. I think the best possible short today is going to be a move back down under 240. If we break under 240, we can look for shorts back down to 230. That's what I'd watch out for today's session. If the market does flip strong today, which again, we have to be open to that because the market is still sitting in an hourly or 15-minute uptrend, then we can look for longs above 260, right? Pretty simple chart. Longs above 260 or shorts below 240. Those are the things I'm watching today on the Tesla chart. I think if we break below 260, we should see a move back into 270. This is the dead zone. Remember we said this is the dead zone here, right? Don't mess with the dead zone though, right? So if we were trading longs of 260, we're trading it only as far as 270 because we don't know if it's going to break above the dead zone, okay? So, right, let's move on, guys. Let's go over Amazon. Amazon in the bear flag, right? This also is a watch for me today. Why is it a watch for me today? Because it is in a larger time frame flag, right? And I know the overall market's doing the same thing, but this to me is a little bit weaker, and I am watching to see if this actually results in any downside. What I would look for confirmation here would be a break under 175.50. If this breaks under 175.50, right, our low here, our low right there, right, then we should see a move back into 170. So today's session, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch for a break and hold under 175.50. You could even say 175, right? 175 just to be sort of safe, and look for the move back down to 170. That's what I'd watch out for today here in Amazon's chart. This to me looks like a picture perfect bear flag. I would look for this to continue today, right? Remember, some names will say long, some names will say short, right? What did we say about Meta yesterday? We said short, 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 right? Amazon actually is a case where I would only be interested in short too, right? If it breaks under 175, I'm looking for shorts. If it reclaims 180, right? If it reclaims 180, it's possible it does this, right? It's possible it grinds higher back into the 190s, but that's not a trade I want to be involved in, right? Why? Because this is not a name that's relatively strong. So even if it does reclaim 180 and starts going to 190, it's not a trade I'd be interested in, right? I'm only interested in going short here under 175.50, right? Because again, this is a relatively weak name that is in an hourly bear flag, okay? So again, shorts under 175. On the Meta chart, and this is probably the most interesting chart of the day today, right? The reason why this is one of the most interesting charts of the day is because Meta had news, right? And the news, there was Zuckerberg news all day. But I think the biggest news that came out was the fact that ChatGPT-3, okay? I can't think of the ticker. What's the ticker? Whatever, okay? That's embarrassing. ChatGPT-3, right, is creating a social media, right? They're creating a subsidiary social media. What's the actual? I can't even think of the actual company name. It's really embarrassing. Someone tell me, what's the company name? What's the company name? Who's the owner of Chat? I know. Obviously, it's Microsoft is the big owner, but who's the actual owner of OpenAI? There we go. OpenAI. Okay, there we go. OpenAI. OpenAI is creating a subsidiary social media that plans to compete with Meta, right? Compete with Meta, compete with X, and that's going to impact that. That's why we're seeing a lot of the selling coming in, right? That's why Meta has been selling so much, right? And it's interesting because it was almost like people knew about that before the news was released yesterday, right? And the reason why I say that is because Meta had relative weakness for the past few days, and it only recently just released the news. So what does that mean? That means that people knew about this before we did, right? What I would watch for on the Meta chart is I would look for this, right? I would look for either a pop and fade today into 528, which would be the best possible pop and fade. A 528 pop and fade would be best possible pop and fade. That's your obvious short level, and I would look for that, right? If this happens, that's an A plus short, okay? Likewise, there is one other level we have to talk about. The level is simply 518, right? 518 was our low of Tuesday. And I know this is aggressive, but we could also look for the pop and fade here, 518. If we pop and fade 518, that also is a shortable move. This is not A plus. This would be A plus. But here's the thing. If I see us pop into 518 today and I'm looking for shorts, but I'm not sure, and I see us do this, then that's my short, right? Especially if we sort of break the level, we fail below, we get confirmation of shorts here, that's your best possible short. But again, here's the thing on Meta, right? You don't want to short back into 500. So you're only going to be shorting at supply, because again, if we break back lower today, we trend lower today in the market, we only can go back into 500, right? I'm not saying we're just going to rip off 500 because again, we may break 500 too, but I don't want to be shorting back into support. So today's session, watch for this to continue back into that 500 level, but don't hold it for too long, because if we just pop back into this level right here, which you can see a low, and a series of lows, then this is an area the market may actually see some resiliency. So may see some buyers step in. So be cautious of that, right? Look for the pop and fades, 518 pop and fade, 528 pop and fade, but only trade it back into 500 because again, that's technical support. Okay, that's all I'm saying, right? Let's move on. Let's go over. AI is a ticker, that makes sense. So Apple, we spoke about the 200 level. 200 maintained yesterday, right? Remember we said let's look for a maintenance of 200 yesterday. That's what happened, right? We saw this whole 200 and we saw a little bit of some upside come in off the 200 level. This was probably tradable. I'm sure some of you guys traded this level yesterday here off 200 support. Now, what would you do? What would you do this morning? This morning, I would actually look for this to fail, right? If we were under 200 support, look for failures and a move back down to 190, right? Again, we were bullish above 200. Now we're below 200. So we can't just be married to that bias. We have to understand that we are now bearish under 200. So if this continues to show us retest rejections here off 200 today off the open, this could be a short, right? Apple could be a short today as long as we're under 200. Keep that on the back burner for today's session. Now, obviously, if we just at 9:35 get back above 200, then don't tag me saying Brett, can we short Apple? Because of course we can't, right? The only short on Apple is if we were under 200. Okay, so let's move on, guys. Let's move on. Let's go over some other tickers. Let's go over some things that are beyond our normal stuff. Let's go over PLTR. PLTR. On the PLTR chart, like I said yesterday, I mean, this was kind of what we said yesterday, we just didn't really have much to do, right? Because it held 93 and then just ripped into 98. I think that at this point, you are looking for this today. The only thing you're watching for in PLTR should be this. Can we break and hold above 98? If we can break and hold above 98, right, really above 99 now, because above our previous day highs. If we can break above 99, right, 99, where you can look for an upside move back into these highs over here, somewhere around the 106, 107 area. So keep this on the, nope, don't do that. Keep this on the watch, right? Look for a break and hold above 99. You would look for this to happen. A break and hold here above these highs, right? And that should get us a move back into 107, right? But until then, you probably want to be cautious here, right? This is an area where you can probably see some resistance form, right? So don't be long yet, right? Look for this to reclaim 99. Likewise, if it pulls back, right, look for it to pull back into 90 as your pullback long. Those are the two things I'd watch here in PLTR. That's all I would say. Okay. On the Costco chart, On the Costco chart, I mean, just immediately, I'll tell you this. I can see the head and shoulders, right? I can see the overall head and shoulders here, right? But I do see some beautiful holds coming in here off the daily 200 SMA. I think if you're a Costco trader, you're a Costco long-term trader, right? And your bias should be always, hey, let's pick up some shares here at the daily 200 SMA, right? That would be my opinion here. I don't want to say anything more here. In the short term, though, if it can break above this high, right, this previous high here, 1,008, right? Sounds weird to say that, but 1,008, you can look for upside back into these highs here, right? These highs here being 1079. So watch that, right? But I would be honestly, I would be hesitant, right, of wanting to long this, right? Why would you want to long back into these previous highs, right? This is not a long right now. The long is over here or the long is there. Those are the two longs we have on Costco, okay? Right, let's move on. Let's go over Netflix. Last ticker of the day, Netflix. Last ticker of the day, Netflix. So Netflix moved pretty aggressively yesterday. The best possible trade now, though, you guys probably know it, is simple, right? We're back, just the same as Costco, right? Held big support zone. Look for this to clear above 1,000. If you can clear 1,000, that's your long, right? That's your long. Your long is either going to be a break and hold above 1,000, or, I mean, if you want to get crazy, you can look for the 940 pullback, right? That's all you're watching here on the Netflix chart. Guys, thank you all for joining in. It's nice to see everybody here. We had the most amount of people we've ever had here in the pre-market, which I think is awesome. I think you guys all appreciate this. And I honestly, I appreciate you guys for showing up too, because there is nothing more I like better than showing you guys levels. And if you can trade this off the same levels we have and have better results than us, that makes me even happier, right? So kill it today, trade safe, trade smart, do the right thing. Understand we are still in contractionary periods on SPY. There probably is some headline risk. We have news at 1:30, but trade safe. That's all I'm going to say, guys. I'll see you all for live trading. Bye, guys.